Okay, good evening, everyone. I would like to call the meeting back to order. We have been here since earlier this afternoon and had our supper break, so now we will do our planning items. But before we do that, I would just like to mention that we are missing 2 members of council this evening. And before we start, I would like to have a resolution to come out of camera.
1 second, and I will start our recording.
Recording in progress.
So, resolved that as per section 152.4 of the Municipal Act, Council of the Rural Municipality of St. Clements does now resume sitting a regular meeting.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Boulanger, Councillor Strank seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Before we get into our planning hearings, we are going to hear how the process is going to work for our public hearings, and I would ask Kayla to please read those instructions out. I guess they're instructions. It's the process,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Council wishes to thank you for taking an interest in what is happening in your municipality by attending this evening. The purpose of these public hearings is to receive representations from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them concerning what is proposed. We will hear first from the applicant, then from those present who wish to make representations, starting with anyone who wants to speak in favor of the proposal, followed by those who are opposed to or object to the proposal. At the end of these representations, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond. If anyone intends to make a presentation for any of the hearings scheduled for this evening, please record your name and contact information on the appropriate sign-in sheet located at the desk as you enter the council chambers, so just outside. Applicants must also sign in. If you haven't signed in, please do so now so you have an opportunity to speak to council. At the end of each presentation, the members of council may ask for clarification from the speaker or on any fact or issue, but will not enter into a debate. Persons speaking must address the chair. If they have questions that they think the applicant should answer, they should raise them in their presentation to the chair. The applicant will have an opportunity to respond to the questions when the other presentations are finished. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Kayla. So with that, we can start our planning hearings for this evening, and the first one we have is a subdivision, and it is a non-public hearing. And I'm going to ask our CAO to explain the difference between a public hearing and a non-public hearing. So if you could do that, Deepak, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A public hearing requires the application to be posted and to be notification, and then there's a public hearing for representation. A non-public hearing are for specific applications that are sometimes just subdivisions that are lot splits or 2 lots, and it's according to the Planning Act of the Province of Manitoba, and the planner can help me explain further if there will be later questions about it. But generally speaking, on a non-public hearing, there isn't a representation, and what happens is that in this case, there are public hearings that also have variations. All variations require it to be a public hearing. So in this case, there are 2 applications that are coming forward as non-public hearings, but there's variations that are coming in along with them to show that there's a change in what is normally allowed under the zoning bylaw. And since in the past what's happened is council's had the non-public hearings, and then the variation comes in after the approval of the subdivision. But council has made a change in the last several months, asking the planning department to bring both of those applications together so that when somebody comes in to deal with a variation, they can't, it's not a moot point, that you can address both of those things at the same point, because it's really a non-public hearing with a public hearing attached, and they shouldn't be coming in at different dates. So that's why we have 2 of those applications today, and we'll proceed with the since the subdivision and the variation kind of go in concert, we'll deal with the variation first as a part of the public hearing to hear issues related, and then council will review the subdivision and resolve the public hearing at the same time, so that people have a chance, because it wouldn't make sense to have subdivision before the public hearing in this case, like approval.
But, yeah, we can discuss the subdivision, analyze it, but not make
Now make a decision. Then we'll go into the public hearing for the second part. So when you come here, you're dealing with, and you're referring to the public hearing side of it, the variation, why there are issues with the variation.
Okay, so with that, the first item we have on the agenda this evening is a subdivision for a non-public hearing, and it's file number S23-2997 on Ewart Street. And Femi, if you could walk us through that one, please.
Good evening, council members. Good evening, everybody. The first item tonight is subdivision S23-2997, which is coming back from the last meeting.
Femi, can I ask you to please speak up a little bit? I think some people are having a bit of trouble hearing you.
All right. So the address of this subdivision is 14 Ewart Street, road number 647550. The proposal is to subdivide the subject land into 2 lots in the A80 Agricultural General Zone. This is the subject site that shows the site itself and the surrounding area. And this is the subdivision map submitted by the applicant. It shows the larger lot and the smaller that is being created. This is the subdivision summary of proposed lots. The applicant is proposing 2 lots. Proposed lot 1, which is the smaller one, and the residual lot, which is the bigger one. In the A80 zone, the minimum lot area is 8 acres, and the minimum lot width is 300 feet. So the applicant is proposing 2 lots that will require variances as part of the subdivision as explained earlier. RRPD analysis. Subject proposal meets the general intent of the resource and agricultural policies of RRPD development plan. The proposed subdivision will facilitate the creation of a small lot for the establishment of a telecommunication RCO, remote communication outpost, that is a utility shed to house equipment related to telecommunication services in the area. While this proposal cannot be said to be a municipal service, it generally falls under what is called a public utility. The proposed subdivision will allow DRF Southern Manitoba / Valley Fiber to establish an RCO in the Gulf Lake area to facilitate improved internet service. Aside from Manitoba Hydro, other commenting agencies generally noted no concerns. RRPDs recommend this subdivision was tabled by council during the April 25th meeting, and the RRPD is recommending approval subject to 3 conditions as written in the planner's report. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Femi. Would you by any chance have those 3 conditions on one of your slides, or could you please read them out, because I'm sure that there's some people in the audience that do not know what those conditions are, and perhaps they might be wanting to know what the applicant has to do in order to have this approved.
Just give me 1 second. So 3 conditions as placed by RRPD. Number 1 is coming from the RM of St. Clements. Taxes on the land to be subdivided for the current year plus any areas have been paid. Developments and road levies along with administration fee to be paid as per bylaw 14/2009. Provide a digital copy of the plan of subdivision to the RM of St. Clements. Number 2, applicant's owner submit written confirmation to the RRPD from Manitoba Hydro that an easement agreement has been entered into with Manitoba Hydro with respect to existing and future facilities associated with subdivision and plan of easement as required by the Real Property Act has been provided. Registration of these agreements will be included as a condition of the final certificate of approval. Contact Manitoba Hydro at hcsc@hydro.nb.ca. Number 3, applicant owner obtain variances for undersized lots from the Red River Planning District. Those are the 3 conditions, but council has the power to add more conditions as you fit.
Okay, thank you for that, Femi. I think that what we will do is, because there is a variation attached to this application for subdivision, is not make a decision on the subdivision until we hear the variation order application and any comments or concerns that residents in the area might have with the variation order. So I would ask that we please move into variation board for variation order number 29 of 2023.
Whereas the public hearing for variation order 29 of 2023 was tabled at the April 25th, 2023 regular meeting of council, and whereas council has requested this issue be brought back to the meeting with additional information from applicant, therefore be it resolved, council reconvene the public hearing for variation order 29 of 2023.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, second Councillor Sutherland. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, Femi, so if you could just walk us through the variation order conditions or whatever you have there, your report on the variation, please.
The variance application BO 29/2023, as we all said, is associated with the subdivision S29 of 2997. The location is 14 Hayward Street, road number 647 550. The proposal is coming from the subdivision, as earlier mentioned, to reduce the required site area from the required 8 acres minimum of proposed lot 1 to 0.21 acres minimum, and for the residual lot to 15.99 acres minimum within the A80 agricultural general zone. The requested variance is part of the conditions within subdivision S23/2997. This is the variance request table. It shows what is subject at this zone, is zone A80, and that in that zone the minimum lot area is 8 acres, and the minimum lot width is 300 feet. Shows what the applicant is proposing in terms of the lot area and lot width for proposed lot 1, and the lot area for proposed lot 2. Those two will require variances, and that is what this application is all about. Subject site that shows the surrounding context. Subdivision application map as submitted by the applicants. It shows the larger lot and the small lot that is being proposed lot 1. This variance application is associated with subdivision S23/2997 for substandard lot sizes. Approving this variance is in fulfillment of condition 3 of the already approved subdivision application S23/2997. The application was circulated to the area of St. Clements, and there are no concerns. RRPD is recommending that just one condition be placed on the variance approval. The variance is limited to what is presented in this application, which is the substandard lot sizes. Any further changes will require a new variance approval. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much for that, Femi. I'm going to ask you to please go back one slide, because I don't believe that the wording is quite right there. It's stating in the second bullet point that the condition 3 of the already approved subdivision. I guess, well, no, it's more for the people sitting in the audience, because the subdivision has not yet been approved by council. We have to deal with both of these kind of one after the other, so, but it has not been approved by council, so I just want everybody to know that it has not been approved at this point in time. Go ahead.
In addition, Femi, could you please, this variance application was held over from last meeting so that RPD could provide a memo outlining the details and the confusion that was related to what was associated with this application?
You want to bring the memo?
Please, if you could read through that. If you want to stop sharing, I can bring it up. It's on the agenda.
Oh, it's on the agenda.
Yeah,
Then you can share that.
yeah, so if you stop sharing. Hang on a second.
So during the last meeting when it was laid over, there were questions from the applicants and from the residents and from council in terms of who is the applicant, and there's some other questions in terms of what is being proposed on site. So I sent an email to the applicants and the clients, and I got this response back. So the applicant is Valley Fiber in conjunction with the financial planner, DIF Southern Manitoba. They are the applicants, and they have a law firm who is representing them. But I guess the applicant is here tonight. And that the applicant confirmed that there is no tower planned for the building location, only an RCO station, which is more like a utility or shed and requires proper infrastructure to be constructed in this location, which has been constructed. So our client forwarded the attached sketch, which is attached. Though the sketch has a site for a tower, but the applicant confirmed that no tower is being proposed in this location. So basically, the RCO is what is called the remote communication outpost, which is more like a shed where their equipments are being kept and being run for fibers. So those are the shed itself has been constructed, and that there is no appetite or there is no construction of a cell tower in this location. I got that confirmation from the applicant. I guess the applicant can speak more to that when he comes up.
Okay.
So in working with the RM, I think I suggested some conditions to be added to ensure that the applicant will continue to comply with the fact that no tower should be erected on this spot. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that, Femi. I see that Josh Okello is on the Zoom, and Josh, are you here to represent the applicant in this application?
That's correct.
Okay, did you have anything that you wanted to add to the application that is before council this evening?
And nothing to add. I think everything that has been said, we will not be having a tower here. So that was all correct.
Okay, members of council, do you have any questions to the planner or to the applicant at this point in time? Okay, actually do not have any names on my list, but as we did not close the public hearing, I will ask if there is anybody in the audience who wishes to speak on this now that we have a little bit more information and perhaps you're a little bit more aware of what is actually happening on that site. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Go ahead, can you just state your name for the
Yeah,
record?
Ray Nixdorf, 104 John Street, Gillette. I
Okay,
just wanted to confirm, because it's very difficult to hear back here. I just wanted to confirm that there is no tower being proposed on that site. Is that correct?
that is correct. That is what the planner had said, and that is also what the representative from Valley Fiber said. It's the small building that's there now is all that is going to be there.
Okay, I appreciate that. Is there any way that, in response to this from the council, that you could put in here one condition that there will not be a tower on the site?
I believe that was one of the recommendations from the planner, is that we add that condition to our resolution when it comes in a few minutes here. If we're going to approve it or disallow it, that will be one of the conditions in the resolution.
I appreciate that. The other fact I'd like to appreciate too is the fact that when I left the other meeting, I assumed the subdivision had all been approved already. And I don't know where I got that from, but in reading the literature, I assumed that. Thanks for clearing that up. It really helps.
Okay,
Appreciate that.
you're quite welcome.
Thank you.
And I think I saw a hand up over here. Go ahead.
Excuse me, Darren Babbitt, 20 Arnold Street, Galway. Just a quick question, this might be more of a housekeeping than anything. I understand that Valley Fiber has been sold to another company. So if in fact they have, and the application is still under Valley Fiber's name, is it still a valid application?
I believe that I did see somewheres, and perhaps I can ask Josh, who is here representing
first.
Valley. Pardon me?
I can speak to that.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Femi.
So as at the time the application was made, the applicant is Valley Fiber and the GIF Sada Manitoba, and that is what is before council tonight. So whether it changes hand in future, it doesn't really matter to the application.
Okay, so if the application is made by Valley Fiber,
Yes,
and let's just say it's 6 weeks ago, and it's been sold in the interim, we're still dealing with Valley Fiber's
Valley
name
Fiber.
in the resolution and everything else.
exactly.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Darren?
It
So
does.
this is the question. Like, you,
He thinks
excuse
it's
me,
sold.
that you think it's sold?
My understanding is that Valley Fiber has in fact been sold. They are
The
no
company
longer,
itself?
pardon me?
The company itself
Yes.
has been sold?
Yes.
Well, I don't think that would have a matter on this.
That's
because-
not relevant.
Yeah.
Okay, well, again, like I said, it was more of a curiosity thing, because for an applicant to make the application for a subdivision or whatever the case might be, and they turn around and they've gone bankrupt, sold the company, if that application is still valid, because it's no
If
longer.
they've gone bankrupt and they've disappeared or dissolved, if they haven't, and if somebody has just changed ownership, that is irrelevant unless we are notified that they have in fact changed ownership. We can't base it on rumor mill.
No, I understand. My question just is, if in fact Valley Fiber is no longer the company that's going to be doing this, the new company, would they not have to make an application? It's just a curiosity thing more than anything.
Pushing it through under Valley Fiber, and it's not Valley Fiber.
I'm going to just ask the planner. I see also we do have the law office. Who made the actual application? Was it the FWH law office?
Yeah, the FW, the law office, it
Okay.
makes the application on behalf of Valley Fiber. So to do that, you need a letter of authorization from Valley Fiber to make the application. So the only thing you do need, you're representing Valley Fiber, but Valley Fiber is the client, is the owner. But the law firm is the firm that is representing Valley Fiber. That's the difference. So
And-
technically, you are dealing with Valley Fiber in terms of the
So
owner.
let's explain this a little better. Femi, if a variance was given to somebody on their land,
Yes,
and then that person sold that land to someone else,
yes.
does the variance continue with that land?
It runs with the land.
Variance continues with the land.
So,
And the obligation, if somebody's selling a company, and that's a legal question, so I'm not gonna ask Femi, and I'm not gonna pretend to give you a legal answer here, but a company is sold, there's still the obligations of the company to provide that service. So I don't know, but if Valley Fiber has been sold for, or they are re-establishing their name under a corporate structure, whatever is happening, they're still providing this particular area is a variance only to accommodate this particular building, to be used for Valley Fiber equipment, that is fiber equipment for the delivery of fiber optic service.
Okay.
And so if Valley Fiber has been sold and they've completely dissolved and something else, then it's a bigger impact throughout the entire province of Manitoba. And that'll have to be addressed afterwards. But just because somebody else acquires Valley Fiber doesn't mean they get additional rights.
Okay.
And they still have to abide by the same resolution of council that's been created.
Okay.
Whose name is the title in?
The title will be under the name of Valley Fiber. And if they sell the company, then it'll be under the name of whoever buys the company from Valley Fiber. That'll be a legal transaction, like any land transaction. But we don't question whether someone is in the middle of something when we don't have any evidence to that fact. Somebody's coming forward who is presently the owner or going to be doing the work, and they're going for the variance, and they've made the deal to be able to put that particular service in there. It's a utility service. If MTS was coming in to put an MTS unit somewhere, and if MTS was being sold to Bell, that's inconsequential. It's still a service that they have to provide.
As long as they abide by the conditions.
They,
set
and
forth
they
on-
would be,
Yeah.
they'd be obligated to abide by the conditions
Set
that
forth.
the land approval has been based on.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay, anybody else wish to speak to this application? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands or anything go up, so what I'm going to ask for is a resolution to come out of the variation board, please.
Madam Mayor, I'm just going to stop the share here.
Okay.
So, Femi, if you could start sharing again on yours. And resolved that the public hearing for variation order 29 of 2023 be closed in the regular session of council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, second Councillor Strang. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, I believe what we will do is we will do the variation resolution first and then the subdivision resolution. Subdivision first, okay. So if we could have the resolution for the subdivision.
Regarding subdivision application S23 of 2997 proposal for FHW Law Office to subdivide Lot 2, Plan 31515 WLTO, except all mines and minerals as set forth in the original grant from the Crown in FRAC SE 1/4 35-16-72. Resolved that council approve the said application subject to the following conditions. 1. Applicant owner submits confirmation in writing from the Chief Administrative Officer of the municipality that A, taxes on the land to be subdivided for the current year plus any arrears have been paid. B, development levies be paid as per bylaw 14 of 2009. C, provide a digital copy of the plan of subdivision to the ARMA St. Clements. D, enter into a development agreement restricting the use of the proposed lot to telecommunication uses. E, enter into a registrable building restriction agreement prohibiting the erection of a communication tower on the proposed lot. 2, applicant owner submits written confirmation to RPD from Manitoba Hydro that an easement agreements have been entered into with Manitoba Hydro with respect to existing and or future facilities associated with the subdivision of a plan of easement as required by the Real Property Act has been provided, and registration of the agreement will be included as a condition of the final certificate of approval. And 3, applicant owner obtain variances for undersized lots from Red River Planning District.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Boulanger, second. Councillor Spicer, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So now we will have the resolution for the variation, please.
Whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 6475550, legally described as Lot 1, Plan 31515, and located at 14 Yearwood Street, has made application for variation order 29 of 2023 from site area 80 acres to site area proposed lot 1.21 acres, residual lot 15.99 acres, from site width 300 feet to site width proposed lot at approximately 72 feet. Purpose to reduce the minimum site area for proposed and residual lots within the A80 agricultural general zone. The requested variance in application is part of the condition within the subdivision application S23-2997. Therefore, be it resolved, variation order 29 of 2023 be approved with the following conditions: that the variance is limited to what is being proposed in this application. Any further changes will require a new variance approval.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any further discussion on this application? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, the next item we have on our planning agenda for this evening is variation order number 42 of 2023 in the name of Dale Haber and Holmes. If you can give us your report. We need to go into variation board, sorry.
Resolved that the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for variation order 42 of 2023.
Can I have a mover, please? Board member Strang, or Councillor Strang, Councillor Sutherland seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, and just so that everybody knows, I see that Councillor Horbus has joined us on Zoom now, so he will be taking part in the rest of the meeting. And Councillor Horbus, if you can't get your camera to work when I ask for the question, if you can just speak up, please. Okay, so now, I think it's up to Femi to give us the report on variation order number 42 of 2023.
Yes, so the next item is a variance application BO 42 of 2023. The location is St. Peter's Road and 2 Mile Road, road number 406800. The intent is to reduce site width and site area in the A40 agricultural limited zone. This is part of conditions within Canada approved subdivision S202853. This is the variance requested. It shows what the subject site zone is on the A40. And then in the A40 zone, the minimum lot area is 40 acres and minimum lot width is 300 feet. The applicant has created 3 lots, 2 of which did not meet the zoning bylaw requirements for lot area and lot width. This is the subject site and the surrounding area. And this is the submitted application mark by the applicants. It shows that the lots being created, lots parcel 1, 2, 3, and 4. This particular variance is associated with parcel 1 and 2. For council's consideration, the RRPD board Canada approved S202853, and the Canada approved letter was sent out by Red River Planning District on February 22nd, 2021. This variance application is a fulfillment of condition 4 of the subdivision application S202853. This application was submitted to the RM of St. Clements and there are no concerns. RRPD is recommending just one condition, that the application be limited to what is being requested. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any questions to the planner from members of council? Is the applicant either on Zoom or in the room here today? Do you have anything that you wanted to add to your application at this point in time?
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
Kind of new to this stuff.
Yeah. Okay, is there anybody else in the audience or on Zoom that wishes to speak on this application? Okay, I am not seeing any hands go up. All right, if council is ready, we can deal with this application. So if I could have a resolution to come out of the variation board, please.
Resolved that the public hearing for variation order 42 of 2023 be closed at regular session of council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, Councillor Boulanger seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, if we could have the resolution for variation order number 42 of 2023.
Whereas applicant owner of tax roll number 406800, legally described as RL 182/183 Plan 5495, and located at St. Peter's Road and 2 Mile Road, has made application for variation order 42 of 2023 from site width 300 feet minimum to site width proposed lot 1 290.21 feet, proposed lot 2 297.65 feet. From site area 40 acres to proposed lot 1 19.88 acres, proposed lot 2 19.82 acres. Purpose to reduce the minimum site widths and site area of proposed lots 1 and 2 within A40 agricultural limited zone. The requested variances is part of a condition within a conditionally approved subdivision application S20 of 2853. Therefore, be it resolved, the variation order 42 of 2023 be approved with the following conditions: that the variances be limited to what is being proposed in this application. Any further changes will require a new variance approval.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Sutherland, second. Councillor Horbis. Any further discussion on this application? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried.
I just invited him to mute himself.
I just sent him a text.
Yeah.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is a subdivision, S23 3001. And Femi, if you want to go ahead with this subdivision application, please.
The next item is a subdivision X23 of 2001. Location is an unaddressed parcel, road 100 North, road number 699-325. The intent is to subdivide this subdivision into 2 lots in the RT Recreation Tourism Zone. This is the subject site that shows the surrounding area, and this is the submitted application map, which shows the lot itself and the small lot that is being created from the existing parcel. This is the variance, the subdivision table that shows what is subject site is zone, zone RT, and in the RT zone, the minimum lot area is 1.377 acres, or 60,000 square feet, and the minimum lot width is 200 feet. The applicant is proposing 2 lots. Lot 1 did not comply with the zoning bylaw requirements for the lot width and the lot area, and the residual lot complies appropriately. So variances will be required for the proposed lot 1. RFP analysis. Subject proposal meets the general intent of the resource and agricultural policies of RFP development plan. The proposed subdivision will facilitate the creation of a small lot for the establishment of a telecommunication utility shed. While this such proposal cannot be said to be a municipal service, it generally falls under public utility. While the residual lot will remain vacant, the intended use on the proposed lot 1 is to establish a communication utility shed, which will enhance internet use in the area. Aside from Manitoba Hydro, other commenting agencies generally have no concerns. RRPD is recommending approval subject to 3 conditions. You want me to look at the conditions?
Please do.
Condition number 1, as recommended by RPD, you can switch to approve the application. Our office recommends the following conditions be placed. Number 1, applicant owner submits confirmation in writing from the chief administrative officer of the municipality that taxes on the land to be subdivided for the current year plus any arrears have been paid. B, government levies and road levies to be paid as per bylaw 14/2009. C, provide a digital copy of the plan of subdivision with the area of St. Clements. 2. Applicant owner submitting confirmation to the RPD from Manitoba Hydro that an easement agreement has been entered into with Manitoba Hydro with respect to existing and official facilities associated with the subdivision, and a plan of easement as required by the Real Property Act has been provided. Registration of this agreement will be included as a condition of the final certificate of approval. Contact Manitoba Hydro as shown on top. Number 3, applicant owner obtain variances for undersized lots from the regular planning district. These are the 3 conditions, but the council is at liberty to add any other condition as preferred.
Thank you for that, Femi. Any questions to the planner from council? Go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
This is not a tower. Exactly.
Thank you, Councillor. This is not a tower as well, and it's exact same as the last application. And so we'll be putting in the same 2 conditions that we placed for the last one, that there was no intent of putting in a tower. It's just the applicant, with their submission of their plans, it's a generic plan that describes it, and they identify telecommunications tower. There is no tower outside.
Thank you.
Okay, Josh, I see you are still on Zoom. Is there anything that you wanted to add to this application? We do have a few people here in our council chamber that may have comment, but normally we give the applicant the opportunity to speak first in these public hearings.
Nothing to add. Yeah, we will not be having a tower here either, so yeah. Unless there are questions that I can respond to.
Okay, I don't believe that there are any other questions, and I think that we have said that if this is going to go forward, we will have the same 2 conditions placed on this one as the previous one, where there would be no tower. And what was the other one?
There was no tower. They get into a development agreement.
Right, a development agreement would have to be entered into, so. Okay, like I say, we do have a few people here in our council chamber, so I'm going to go to those people first, and I see that there are some that are opposed to this application, so those are the ones I'm going to start with. There are some here just for info, sorry.
I don't think we're in the variation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just to help you out.
Thank you very much for that. I'm totally, with having to do both of them, it's a little, and we're not used to doing it this way, so please let us move into variation.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. And may I just explain again?
Yes.
That this, as part of the Planning Act, when you're subdividing 2 parcels generally speaking, if you're not creating roads, there's no need for a public hearing. And as you just saw, there was an application that came from 2020 when the applicant finally came for the variance. So a variance is a requirement of the subdivision. But in these unique situations where there is no public hearing, and yet there's going to be a public hearing for a variance, several months ago, last year, council had directed Red River Planning to always bundle those together so that the public and the community had a chance to speak to it, as opposed to something that's already been approved and they're just coming in for additional approvals that are a requirement of an approval. So that's why we're having this, so that everybody understands what's exactly happening there. So now we're going to go into the variation as the public hearing, because that one, by the Planning Act, by the government of Manitoba, we're supposed to follow. So, enter into the public hearing. Resolved that the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for variation order 50 of 2023.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, second. Councillor Strang, any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, so let's move forward on this again. So, Femi, if you could go through your report, please.
So the variance application BO 50-2023, it's an unaddressed parcel road, 100 Northwood number 699-325. The proposal is to reduce the required site area from the required 60,000 square feet minimum for pole lot 1 to 7,987 square feet minimum, and site width to 66.007 feet minimum required from the required 200 feet within the RT recreation tourism zone as part of the conditions within the X23 3001. This is the variance request table. It shows what the subject side is zoned and what the requirements are, and the reason why we're here is for substandard and lot areas. Our subject site and the surrounding area. Subdivision application map as submitted by the applicant, showing the parcel and the small lot being created. For council's consideration, this variance application is submitted with a subdivision application S233001 for substandard lot size. This is in fulfillment of condition 3 of the. It's not been approved. I need to change that. Just to say that it has not been approved. The reason why it's written this way is because of the way we have been doing this before. So this subdivision has not been approved, and aside from the Manitoba highway requirement, other commenting agencies said they are returning concerns. RRPD is recommending just more permission that the variance be limited to what is being presented in the application. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any questions from council to the planner? Okay, I'm going to now go to Valley Fiber. Josh, was there anything that you wanted to add to this? We are now on the variation order 50 of 2023. Was there anything you wanted to add? That's the one on Road 100. Josh, or Jamie, did you have anything that, no, Josh, did you have anything you wanted to add to this application? Okay, I'm going to move on, and as I started to
Nothing
say,
at the moment. Sorry, my speaker was off.
oh, that's okay, thank you. We do have some people who have signed in that they are opposed to this, and others are for information only, so I'm just going to go through my list, and if you wish to speak, do so, and we will see where it goes. So the first name I have on the list is Timothy Friesen and Brenda McBride.
I'm Brenda McBride.
Okay, and what did you want to add to this? You say here, or I have on the list here that you are opposed. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
We were opposed because we were under the assumption that there's gonna be 8 lots being developed, because we live right next door to it. But if it's just the utility shed for Valley Fiber, no tower, we're okay.
Okay, thank you for that.
So Madam Mayor, just
yes.
to ask, so you're withdrawing your objection to, you're in
To
favor?
those- Yeah, we're okay if it's just, if it's not a,
Subdivision.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The next name I have on the list as opposed is David Sandon.
Yes. It's the same, I'd like to withdraw, because
Okay.
now with the information you've given us, I have no problem with it.
Okay, thank you for that. The next name I have is Marianne Flood, and it has info opposed.
Yeah, hi. If you could clarify the recreation tourism zoning, like, and what that kind of can open up that area to be developed in the future?
Well, we're dealing just with this application for a variation order and the conditional use, no, a subdivision and the variation order. Nothing to do with the surrounding area and what the RT zone stands for. Perhaps at the end of this application, if the planner has an opportunity to speak to you, or Deepak, did you want to speak to it briefly now?
Sure, I'll be as brief as I can. That's an existing zoning that exists there. And so you
Okay,
can
it's not
certainly-
agricultural.
They're not going in there, whatever, if it's RT zoning, if it has it, or whatever the zoning is on that land, that's what it's going to stay. It is not changing zoning, it's only a subdivision and then a variance. And the subdivision is for creating of a small lot, so that's the non-public hearing, and then creating the small lot allows them to put in, their intent is to put in a shed for the communication equipment to allow for fiber optic cable to be connected in throughout the community. And that's all it's allowed for, that's all it's going to. There's no additional zoning, no other zoning changes that have been contemplated or put forward. I can't say for the future, is this A40 or RT?
RT.
So this is already RT, so they've had it as RT way before this, and it's not gonna change.
Oh, okay.
And with that small lot that's being created, the other one is an existing use, and it's staying that way. And so the small lot that's being created is the only change, and that's for a shed.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Okay, I do have some more names on the list here, so if I could just keep going. I don't actually have any more that are opposed, so there were a few here that had for info. So Jeff Clements,
Right here.
go ahead.
Very quickly, we talked a bit about the communication tower.
Yes.
In 5 years, council changes. If the company decides they want to put a communication tower there and they change their mind, what is the process? Like, can you shut it down so we never have to worry about it?
Not,
Go ahead.
You want me to answer
No,
this?
yeah, go ahead.
It's
I
just
think
that
I know what you're
that's
gonna
obviously
say.
a major concern for us.
telecommunication towers are required to go through requirements that are controlled by the federal requirements. Council really has no say and or any ability to restrict those. Now, the federal government has a set of rules that the telecommunication companies must follow. Part of that requires it to have some consultation with the community, as well as consultation with the council, and then it goes to a hearing with the federal government. And so, because telecommunications is totally controlled by them, so we can certainly put a requirement as part of the subdivision, and that will be determined if it can be challenged in the court at a later time. We don't think it'll be an issue because right now, this individual, this company has bought it specifically for this purpose. They're a fiber optic company, and so there's no need for a telecommunications tower. And if it was MTS or Shaw or Rogers or any of them, they usually come in and then they have to go through a public consultation. They contact all the property owners, they must do that.
Thank you.
Can I just add that? So council is adding a condition tonight that no tower shall be placed on this property as part of the conditions. So if the applicant were to propose this in future, then we need to come back to council to amend the development agreement.
Okay, thank you for that. So the next name I have here is George Walker. George, what did you have to say or
I
add?
have a question to ask. Now,
Sure.
the proposal is the changing of lot size, right?
The proposal is for a subdivision and for undersized lot.
Yes. Now, we're only talking about a couple of lots.
2 lots.
Okay, so 2 lots, but does this set a precedent for all the rest of the lots in that area? That's my concern. Not at all? Okay.
No, every application is looked at it on its unique merit. This one is specifically related, why council is looking at it, because it's for a utility. And for the utility, they couldn't meet those kinds of requirements to have a 40-acre lot or 20-acre lot for a small little shed.
For information, I look at that notice that was on the word, and many other people did. Almost impossible to understand. Almost impossible to understand. So now you have people opposed that don't know what it is.
Completely, should I answer this?
Well, I think.
You understand, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, you know, and a lot of people are concerned because what's happening.
Yeah.
We completely sympathize with you.
So I come here to the meeting, I'm not criticizing the gentleman in front of me, but I basically could hear nothing that he said. And I can't see, I really can't read that on the board, so it's very, very hard. Okay. So-
Yes.
Completely sympathize with you. Sorry,
Well,
Madam
no,
Mayor.
I was just gonna say thank you for those comments, and, you know, we can maybe look at having the planner, and I know it's not gonna help you for this evening, but maybe wear a microphone so he's a little bit louder, because I know that his voice is quite soft, so. And if there's a little bit of noise in the chamber, it is hard to hear, George. Go ahead, Deepak.
And also sympathize with you about the information, and we'll be working with Red River Planning to see how we can provide more information related with some of these types of applications. Sometimes confusion does set in, and I think there was lots of calls that we did receive today. And when the application was made, and we did clarify for everyone that that's not the intent. But as part of a public hearing, the best way to resolve these or to get an understanding is to have this as part of the public hearing democratic process. I know it's frustrating sometimes for residents, but sometimes the only time you can really find out what the complete application is to be part of the public hearing process. So I hope, like, you know, I know it's not a lot of benefit for you right now, but at least you were able to at least determine what was happening.
But I did, sorry.
That's okay.
I did go to the Red River Planning site to look. The link was down. The information about, I went to specifically look, because frankly, all of us, I mean, to come down here, if we would have known what this was about, none of us knew. We had no idea that it was about a communication tower. I don't think any of us did.
And it's not a tower.
Or, I'm sorry, a communication shed. Sorry, we didn't know.
No, I appreciate that. There was a lot of communication happening, and this is the challenge we have. See, an application gets put in, there's government regulations from provincial act that decide on how it should be posted and what should be public hearing, what shouldn't be. Then there's communication that happens in the community. There was some thought that there was something else being done altogether, as opposed to, and unfortunately, we can only give the information that we have. And sometimes even the information that's available that from the applicant at the time is saying that they're doing a subdivision of 2 lots and somebody's thinking something else is happening. And so the only way we can deal with those is at a public hearing like this, or when you contact. I apologize, Femi will take it back to Red River to make sure their links are fixed. But there was some people thinking that there was trailer courts being put in. That's, I don't even know how that conclusion came to happen, but
I'll tell you how it got to happen, because on that board it said recreational. So if you're talking subdividing and you're talking recreation, right away people are thinking a campground.
yeah, see, If I brought up that entire map of that entire area, all those properties are zoned RT, recreation tourism. And it has various restrictions and requirements. Even if it says recreation and tourism, that's a zoning requirement.
Recreational tourism or, like I believe mine was residential recreational.
Isn't it SR, seasonal residential? Is it SR?
SR,
Yeah, yeah.
Where I am, residential recreational.
There's no
residential recreational.
Okay.
It's RR is rural residential, or
SR.
SR.
or SR, or RT.
Yeah,
So those are zonings, and it's very confusing to the layperson who's not dealing with those zonings on a day-to-day basis, thinking, what do they mean? But a zoning sometimes is all-encompassing, and it might have been created 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
That's the three things that were out there was that it was going to be a campground, it was going to be subdivided to cottages, small cottage lots, very small cottage lots, and then, and then here we are today.
And sometimes the only way we can resolve that is at a public hearing, unfortunately.
Madam Chair,
Go ahead.
if I could just add to their concerns, if there is rumor and speculation in the community, you know how things fly around, instead of taking it as information and believing it, make a phone call to the RM and just ask before, and then it would save a lot of people trips if they're given the information right here that it's not, we've got no application for a campground, we've got no application for a cottage subdivision, right? It could really quell a lot of driving.
Definitely, and it's a matter of trust.
Just saying.
And when the RM is responding, we're telling you what the application is going to be. We are legally obligated to tell you. So we're not going to tell you that it's something else when it's not.
See, and then when I sat down here and then I started hearing towers, I'm thinking, oh, that's bad. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on here.
There's another
Sorry,
question.
I was just thinking, this is all about communications and that, and I was just thinking, my dad's 86 years old. Where that sign was put, like the stop sign is here on Road 100, the sign is back here. So when I came down, I didn't even see it the first couple of times. It was just when somebody else said, did you see that? I went back, and you've got to go through the ditch, which my dad wouldn't have been able to do, and you have to take a picture of it so that you could actually read what it says. So I'm just thinking, in that vein of communications, would there not be a better way that, that it could, or am I just not aware of where that information could have been that
I'm gonna get Femi to answer that because I believe that there are a little bit of rules that the applicant has to follow when they're posting the property, because now is it not up to the applicant to post the property and not RRPD?
Yes, so when we make the posters, the applicant will come to our office, pick up the posters and post the site to make sure that it's visible and it's accessible to everybody. But aside from that, you can also go to RRPD website where all the notices are posted about all the applications coming to this meeting. So there are two methods. So you can either go physically to the site, or you can go on RRPD website. And sometimes you can come here too. There are notices here.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, the notice is supposed to be posted on the property, on the subject property now. And what you're saying, and I kind of, not that I agree, but I guess I'm looking at it more of a sense, if you have to go through the ditch to get to the property and the ditch is full of water, you're not gonna go.
So that is where the applicant will need to use his or her discretion to place it in a place that is more accessible to everybody.
Right, and you also mentioned about the RRPD website,
yeah.
and I know that you did have problems at the office last week. I am not sure what day it was, but your internet was down, so maybe that was the day you wanted to look, and I know that it was down because I got a call that it was down.
And we do have many seniors, and a lot of them don't have internet access or computers even, so
Yeah.
It just seemed to me, it's almost like, I understand that it would have to be on the property.
Right.
I think, but, you know, like it could have been put right beside, you know,
Yeah. Well, I
whatever,
guess if
up,
it's
a
kind
little
of
bit
put
up
in-
from the stop sign, like everybody would see it,
Well,
you
but
know.
see, the thing is, it has to be on the property, and if it's in the bottom of the ditch or on the upslope of the ditch, somebody's gonna take it and rip it out of there anyways, you know,
Really?
so.
Somebody would do that?
Maybe.
If I
Can't
can
imagine.
answer this
Go
quickly.
ahead.
I can't imagine.
I understand what you're saying, and there's several different options. One is going to the website. Yes, appreciate that sometimes things can happen, a website is down. There's also the ability to phone the RM office and say, there's this application, I'd like to get more information on it. Our office can certainly help to provide that for senior citizens. There's also the examination of where some municipalities have looked at requiring on big, large farmlands, larger poster sizes. But it's a difficult thing to manage, because when you're going for a variance is a variance. So a variance for a lot size is like this, but let's say you're going in there and you're building a shed and you're just too close to your property line, that's also a variance. And so if we put the position requiring for a variance, a 4x8 sign to be posted, poster size, you can see the costs and the implications, people get upset at that. So it's a fine line that we're trying to balance here. And so legislatively, the province has created a basic requirement, which is to put up a poster on the site. When the applicant puts the poster on the site, they must take a picture of it and provide it to Red River Planning, proof that they did put it up there, so that somebody didn't put something up and it got taken down, or it didn't blow away from the wind, as they may explain. But we are continually looking to do better communication, so we will take your comments in serious advisement.
Can I ask please? Our neighbors beside us, they never got any notification because they own a lot. They don't have like a mailing address. How would they have been able to know what's going on besides us talking to them about this proposal?
Well, that again is the distance requirement. So as part of the legislation, it says within all properties within 300 meters.
Yeah, sorry, 100.
Pardon?
100.
100 meters, sorry.
Wow.
So within 100 meters, sometimes that only hits one property.
Oh.
Within 100 meters of that property, that's any property that's touching that is the only ones that get hard to be notified. So if your neighbors are past 100 meters, they weren't going to
Okay,
get
that I
notified.
didn't know. Thank you.
But the other thing there is, if you say they have no cottage or no building on that property, they still have a mailing address in Winnipeg, I'm assuming, or somewhere else, and that notice would have gone to their mailing address. What is on the record, whether from the RRPD or, we send the tax bill to their mailing address, even if they have no cottage or building on that property at the lake. So, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try and get through, there's a couple more names here, so I'm gonna try and get through these, and I think there's also a couple of people on Zoom who may wish to speak. So the next name I have here is Charles Hill, and it was for info. Anything, you're fine, or you have something you wanna add now?
Well, it would have been nice to, on that poster, to put for transmission or utility shed.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Which,
And the-
which should be allowable.
Well, and I think, from all the comments that we've had, quite a few comments this evening and at our last meeting, and I think we'll probably try and put something together to make our communication better in the future. So, thank you for that. Okay, Marianne. Jamie Frugere, have you anything that you want to add? I see you are on Zoom and you had your name down as information here on our sheet.
Hi there. My questions have been answered. I think I would just sort of echo the statements about maybe a little bit more improved kind of communication, and I think something that's happened here is a little bit of rumor about what was gonna be happening on the site. But my questions have been answered, so I'm satisfied, so thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for that, and thank you for your patience. And I believe I have one more name here, Sarah F. Did you have anything that you wanted to add on this application?
No, nothing further to add, just again, echo the sentiments of the folks in office today, and just kind of how the poster was presented, how it presented was very confusing and concerning to the people of the area. So yeah, any improvement on that end would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, thank you for that.
And I also just want to echo too, I came in on the weekend and I didn't notice that sign at all, drove right past it, and it wasn't until it was, pointed out to me. And even when I looked at the parcel of land, the sign is posted on the corner, but it doesn't seem to be directly impact right on the parcel of land, or maybe it's just, anyways, I also missed it.
Okay.
And had to go back and search for it myself, so.
Okay, I just want to ask for your last name for the record, please, because we only have you on Zoom as Sarah F.
Yeah, it's also Fougere.
Okay.
Fougere.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, now I think I have everybody that is in the chamber has spoken, so there are no other people to speak. And I believe now we can come out of the variation board.
Resolved that the public hearing for variation order 50 of 2023 be closed and the regular session of council be reconvened.
Now, who will replace Councillor Sutherland? Councillor Corbett seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. So if we could now have the resolution for the variation and subdivision first and then the variation. So the subdivision file is S23 3001. If I could have the resolution,
Regarding
please.
subdivision application number S23 of 3001, proposal from FHW Law Offices subdivide special lot 10, block 2, plan 16447, in the Black Devils Office subject to the reservations and provisos contained in the grant from the Crown in fracture S one half of section 28-17-7 EPM. Resolved that council approve the said application subject to the following conditions. 1. Applicant owner submits confirmation in writing from the chief administrative officer of the municipality that A, taxes on the land to be subdivided for the current year plus any arrears have been paid. B, development levies and road levies to be paid as per bylaw 14 of 2009. C, provide a digital copy of the plan of subdivision to the R of St. Clements. D, enter into a development agreement restricting the use of the proposed lot to telecommunication uses. E, enter into a registrable buildings restriction agreement prohibiting the erection of a communication tower on the proposed lot. 2, applicant owner submits written confirmation to the Red River Planning District for Manitoba Hydro that an easement agreements have been entered into with Manitoba Hydro with respect to existing and or future facilities associated with the subdivision of the planned easement as required by the Real Property Act has been provided. 3, applicant owner obtained variances for undersized lots from the Red River Planning District.
And mover, please. Councillor Strang, second. Councillor Spicer, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. So now we can bring forward the resolution for the variation.
Whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 699325, legally described as special lot 10, block 2, plan 16447, WLTO, and located at Road 100 North, has made application for variation order number 50-2023 from side area 60,000 square feet minimum to side area lot 1, 7,987 square feet minimum. From site width 200 feet minimum to site width proposed lot 1, 66 feet minimum. Purpose to reduce the minimum side area and site width of proposed lot 1 within the RT recreational tourism zone. The requested variance is in the application is part of a subdivision application S23-3001. Therefore, be it resolved, variation order 50 of 2023 be approved with the following conditions: that the variance be limited to what is being proposed in this application. Any further changes will require a new variance approval.
Can I have a mover, please? Board member, or Councillor Sutherland, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Boulanger, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, I do believe that we do have one more application this evening, and it is a subdivision, file number S23-3003, in the name of Janus. And if you can bring that one forward, please.
Subdivision application S23, 2003, location is 78054 St. Peters Road, road number 416798. The intent is to subdivide the subject land into 2 lots in the RA Solota residential zone. This is the subject site and the surrounding area. And this is the subdivision application map as submitted by the applicants. And this is the summary of the proposed lot. The applicant is proposing 2 lots. In the RA zone, the minimum lot area is 20,000 square feet. It is serviced. It doesn't include pump out holding tank. The minimum lot width is 100 feet. The applicant is proposing 2 lots that meets those requirements, so no variances will be required. For RP analysis, subject proposal meets the general intent of the settlement center policies of the RPD plan. Proposal aligns with the transportation policies in the proposed, given that the proposed lot fronts onto an existing all-weather route, country road and St. Peters Road. The applicant is aware that the site is limited to approved pump-out holding tank, septic disposal in compliance with the development plan and zoning bylaw. The site proposal is compatible with the existing lot sizes in the area south of the subject property. Aside from the general requirements from the RM, the Manitoba Hydro, other commenting agencies generally presenting concerns. RPD is recommending approval subject to 2 conditions. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you for that. Any questions to the planner from members of council? Okay, and this is not a hearing, so if council is ready to move this one forward or deal with it, I will ask for the resolution, please.
Regarding subdivision application S23-3003, proposal that you want us to subdivide lot 4, plan 40667 WLTO in RL 236 and 237 Parish St. Peters, certificate of title 3191260/1. Resolved that council approve the said application subject to the following conditions. Applicant owner, one applicant owner submits confirmation in writing from the chief administrative officer of the municipality that A, taxes on land to be subdivided for the current year, plus any arrears have been paid. B, development levies and road levies to be paid as per bylaw 14 of 2009. C, provide digital copy of plan of subdivision to the Earl of St. Clements. D, an engineered drainage plan be prepared indicative of positive drainage on the property to the satisfaction of the RM of St. Clements, and to ensure that the proposed property does not drain onto or impede drainage from neighboring properties. 2, applicant owner submits written confirmation to the Red River Planning District from Manitoba Hydro that easement agreements has been entered into with Manitoba Hydro with respect to existing and or future facilities associated with the subdivision plan and easement as required by the Real Property Act has been approved.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Strang, seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, thank you very much, Femi. I guess that's it for you for this evening. And actually, we're pretty close to the end, too. Surprise, surprise. Okay.
camera.
I suppose, we don't need to have a break, really. Do you have lots to talk about yet?
Just a couple of things.
Okay, so let's go in camera then.
Resolved, council recess the regular meeting and go to camera to discuss legal and personnel issues and further be a resolve of matters discussed are to remain confidential as per section 83 1D of the Municipal Act.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Horvis, Councillor Boulanger seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried.
We have one issue left on the in camera and just one piece of good news that came in today.